Hey students, we're back for lesson 2 of motivation and emotion. In this lesson, we're going to investigate hunger motives. Psychologists will look at hunger because it's something that we all have. It's motivation which directs us towards a goal, that is food, that every human being has. So it's easy for us to study for motivation and hunger motives. Let's do it. We'll start with the biological side of hunger and our body's chemistry. One of the things in our body's chemistry that regulates hunger is glucose. When our glucose drops, that is the form of sugar that circulates throughout our blood and is our source of energy. When it drops, we'll seek out food. Next is the hypothalamus. That's that thing in your brain that tells you to eat. It is pea-sized, regulates hunger and other bodily functions. Altering this can starve or fatten us up. Here you see a fat rat, and the reason why it is obese is because they've created a lesion in this rat's brain and it doesn't get the hunger motives turned off. So you set food in front of this rat, it's going to eat it because there's no off switch. There's no turning point where it says, okay, I've had enough. There's no satiation, there's no satisfaction. The rat will eat, thus it has grown to 8 times its normal weight. Another theory behind hunger is the set point theory. The set point theory is the particular level that a weight that body strives to maintain. So if you are normally 150 pounds, you might weigh 160 in the wintertime because your body wants to weigh more because during winter food is harder to come by. And then in the summer when you're more active, you might drop down to 140, but you're going to be set at a regular body weight that it tries to maintain. One of the troubles with this is as we age, the set point gets higher and higher because of our propensity to put on more weight as we age. We also have a theory of basal metabolic rate, and that has to do with metabolism. You've heard, do you have a high metabolism? Teenage boys, you have a high metabolism. You need a lot of food, you need a lot of calories because you're burning a lot of energy. Metabolic rates are influenced by things like genes, age, sex, and size. Some people have a hard time losing weight or even putting on weight because of basal metabolic rates. Where your set point will stay can be influenced by a settling point. This is the person's weight which settles in response to caloric intake and energy use. So if a person is seeking to lose weight, they may try to change their set point. Biologically, set points are hard to influence, but you can influence them by caloric intake and burning calories. Have you ever eaten when you weren't hungry? Have you ever eaten because you were bored? Have you ever eaten for reasons that you just don't know? Well, that is the psychology behind hunger. And here are 3 reasons why we might eat because we're not hungry. One is social facilitation. If we see other people eating or we're with people who are eating, we might decide that we need to eat as well. We also have a unit bias, especially here in America, where we go out to a restaurant and they give you 3 times the amount of food that you really need. And we also have this wonderful thing of variety. So we can go, I know for me, in my area where I live, I can get food from all kinds of different nations and ethnicities. And it's one of the things I love about living where I am. We have variety, you know. Food is easy to come by now. We don't have to plant our food and wait for the cucumbers to grow. And so we put on weight when we may not mean to. I'll show you some videos in class that will demonstrate these phenomenons. All right, let's talk about obesity, the physiology of obesity. Obesity is when you're 30% over the recommended weight. Obesity can have both physical and social effects. It can lead to the physical effects of heart disease, diabetes, respiratory problems, and some cancers. And socially, a person who is obese may be less popular and less successful. So there are fallouts to being obese, unfortunately, in our society. Obesity is not easy to explain. Why people are obese can have a lot to do with biology and genetics. Some people have a higher set point, which makes it harder to reduce. They have slower metabolism, and they may have the social preferences for video games over going out and playing sports. So they may have a sedentary lifestyle. Socially, obesity is rising worldwide because we have more food, we're eating more, and we are moving less because of our devices. Now, where obesity has its side points, we also have people with eating disorders. So if a person has trouble gaining weight or losing weight, it could lead to disordered eating, which means it takes a break from the ordinary eating. In psychology, we focus on anorexia and bulimia. So anorexia is the eating disorder where people just don't eat because they believe that they're overweight. It is also related to body dysmorphia, which we'll be getting into in a couple units. So people may appear skeletal, and it does influence more females than males. And we also have bulimia. Bulimia is an eating disorder where people binge and purge. So binging, eat a bunch, a lot of calories, and then feel guilty and anxious over it, and so they have to get rid of it. That's the purging side of things. Disordered eating isn't an easy thing to explain either, because it can be genetic, where people just can't eat enough calories. They may have imbalances in their hypothalamus, their pituitary gland, their thyroid gland. And when we get influenced by the media with pictures of women who are very thin, then it does have a social effect on those teenage girls. And, it's one thing that parents can influence. They can withhold food as a punishment. So more on these two eating disorders when we get to clinical psychology in the future.